Welcome back to the Sports Source. This segment brought to you by the friends at Calhoun's. High school football kicks off this month. That means tailgating. Be sure to let Calhoun's do the work for you with their Feed 5 and Feed 10 family packs. All the great Calhoun's food you want in a perfect carrying case. Calhoun's, the taste of Tennessee. Want to welcome back Spencer Riley, Jeff Hall, Billy Ratliff, and Will Overstreet as we talk about the beginning of the 1998 season. You see how Tennessee started out. Game one, tough one. Unbelievable comeback and last-second win against Syracuse, 34-33, up at the Carrier Dome. In week two, the incredible Pandemonium Reigns game as Tennessee knocks off Florida 2017 in overtime. And then week three, T. Martin. People forget T. Martin struggled those first 2 weeks. Week three, he had his coming out party. Tennessee goes big over Houston 42-7. Let's take a look at some of the highlights from the Syracuse game right here. All right, gentlemen, thoughts on Syracuse and a team that took, people forget how great that Tennessee defense was. They forget this Syracuse team laid 33 on you guys.
But you
with
did.
Donovan McNabb at quarterback. That's a pretty good offense you guys took care of.
The Big East has been splintered since then. I mean, let's just be honest. That's what's happened. So, but if you're looking at the history of the Big East, arguably the best quarterback to ever play in that conference.
Yeah, by far. I mean, I remember, I think Al Wilson said afterwards he wanted to buy his jersey because he was like, well, that guy should win the Heisman. They were a great team, and I just remember how loud that place was. I mean, you talk about the fans were right on top of you. Yes. And we got a couple of good, sayings from a few of those fans. I think Chad Clifton, they had a little fun with at times too.
Remember, it's Sunday morning, so careful if we repeat anything that we hear.
And I think I remember about that, it was the Carrier Dome. Yeah. Carrier, they make air conditioning and everything, and this place was hot.
Right, they don't use air conditioning in their own building.
Our whole team was passing out and cramping up in this place.
Yeah, and when you walked on, in some spots on the field, it was really bouncy. It's like it was just plywood there and not concrete. So.
T. Martin had a tough day, but he gets you into field goal range at the end of the game. And Jeff Hall, your second game-winning kick. You'd won a game against Georgia with a kick. Yep. Last second game winner to start the season 1-0. As we come on back to the guys here, Jeff, how big was that kind of win for that team? Again, we talked about the fact that the expectations were lower. You have the new quarterback. How big was winning like that on the road in that first game in terms of setting the table for what came after?
I think it was huge because it would have been very easy for us to have looked past Syracuse to focus on Florida, knowing that getting to the SEC championship game was ultimately the #1 goal. But to go up there to beat a ranked team with the incredible players that they had, not just Donovan McNabb, but you had Kevin Johnson and Rob Conrad and plenty of other guys that I can't remember, and to beat them on their home turf to start the season off that way, that's it's hard to start off on a better foot.
Well, and you got to also give credit. I mean, that's the beauty of sometimes scheduling tough. Because if you guys had opened with MTSU and beaten them 56-0, I don't know that you get the confidence that you gain from going to Syracuse and pulling out that game last second the way you did. Spencer, I said you were a guard before, and you did start as a guard. You moved to center for 98. Yeah. You said that was the only time you had a bobble snap all year with T. Martin.
Yeah, I didn't. Coach Fulmer said, hey, look, we're not laying them on the ground. I said, okay, so we're not going to lay them on the ground. So we snapped the football. T pulled out a little bit early, or I was short, one of the two, but quarterback never gets to blame for that, so it's always offensive line. So I was like, well, I'm just going to hold on to it, and I didn't know what else to do with it, so I took off running, and we got a penalty on that. But hey, the ball never touched the ground, and I'm proud of that.
That's all that matters.
In my career, the ball never touched the ground.
Very good. Now, you guys.
Coach Fulmer didn't say don't get a penalty.
No, he did not. He said don't let the ball touch the ground.
Don't let the ball on the ground.
After the Syracuse game, Tennessee had a 5-game losing streak to Florida. The Gators come to Knoxville. Florida was ranked #2 in the country. You guys were #6. Everybody expected this great offensive battle back and forth. It was just the opposite. It was a defensive battle. 2017, Tennessee wins it in overtime. But the big thing there, look at this from
Sean Bryson.
Sean Bryson,
this player right here, I remember it to
the amazing thing, Sean Bryson, who went on to be a starting tailback in the NFL, was the fullback. Yeah. You had so many tailbacks on this team. He was the starting fullback.
And he and Peerless always fought and debated on who was faster.
Always.
Always.
Your fullback or your NFL first-round wide receiver draft pick.
If that tells you something. Yeah.
It's a hell of a team.
Yeah, that run right there, though, we had put that play in a couple weeks ago, and we said, hey, we're only going to run it to a 3 technique. Well, we come out, we get 2 3 techniques. So we don't block neither one of the 3 techniques, and Sean just runs right past them.
And it happened against Houston.
Yeah,
you ran the same play against Houston the next week.
This game, so many people remember it for 4 fumble recoveries, but amazing night for Al Wilson, your teammate Al Wilson. So defensive guys, talk to me about Al Wilson, the leadership he provided, not only that night, but the whole season.
Well, I mean, there's so many things I can say about Al, man. Al was a great player, a great teammate, even to this day, great friend. You know, Al, he kept us motivated, kept you on your toes. No matter if he was on the sideline, if he's injured, or in the game, you better be on your P's and Q's every play. Al, he's going to always make sure you're right.
You're going to know if you're not on your P's and Q's from Al Wilson.
Well, even more than that, too, for me was that I'd only played one play in the Syracuse game. And so all of a sudden, when I get called in to play in that game, my first home game I've ever seen, and, you know, you'd be a little nervous. Al goes, okay, let's go, you know. And so all of a sudden, he's got you. He says, I got you. We're going to do this right now. You know what to do? And he took over from right then and there. And that really got me into the game, kind of loosened me up and everything. But, you know, that he took ownership of you as soon as you came in of, I'm going to help you. We're going to get this thing going right now.
Good deal. When we come back, we're going to talk about it's almost, there were so many amazing games that year. This one, to me, was a big one that kind of gets forgotten a little bit. Turning point with what you lost on offense and how the defense put this thing together. We'll talk about the Auburn game and more coming up next on the Sports Source.